I'd like to call this Darien Library annual meeting to order. My name is Rob Levinson. I am the treasurer of the Friends of the Library and a member of the executive committee. I'm filling in for Hutch Pegler, who's out of town at a family event. Thank you all for being here with us today. I would like to begin today's meeting with a few specific thank yous. First, to our patrons, who continue to move past COVID and return to the library in increasing numbers. Print circulation was up 31% last year, and total door count was up 28%. We saw the children's door count up over 50% last year, and circulation among children's books was just 9% below the pre-COVID levels. Most importantly, program attendance was up 111% last year, which shows that the library's programming is addressing the interests of our community. Next, to the town of Darien. The Darien Library and the town of Darien have had a successful partnership which goes back over 100 years, and we could not operate the library to this standard without the town's annual grant. This grant provides exclusively for the operating costs of the library, of which 86% goes to staff salaries and benefits. Kira's leadership and management of the library has enabled our town grant request to grow at a rate below inflation over the past few years. And the town's grant covers about 75% of the library's total operating expenses, which is well below state and national averages. Next, I would like to thank our many private donors who provide the majority of the budget for the Friends of the Library, which pays for all library content and programming. We are grateful to all of you for your contributions, large and small. In addition to content and programming, contributions to the Friends has enabled the library to invest over $2.3 million in building capital improvements since 2019. We have budgeted for further capital improvements this year, focusing on certain technology upgrades. Next, I would like to thank the library staff who gives life to this amazing and welcoming space every day. This starts with Kira and her leadership team and extends to every corner of the library. We value each and every one of our library teammates and know that we literally could not do this without you. As Kira noted earlier this year, on a per capita basis, Darien Library sees more foot traffic, loans more books, engages more people, and is open for more hours each year than almost any other library in our state or country. All of this is made possible by support from the town, our donors to the Friends, and our library staff. Finally, I would like to thank my fellow board members for contributing their time and energy to overseeing the library's direction. We have an amazing set of board members who provide diversity of thought, experience, and leadership. We are sad to see a few of our longtime board members depart today, but we are also excited to welcome new members to the board. I will now call on Maggie Domont of our nominating committee to present the nominating committee report.
Hi, good evening. The nominating committee has fully reviewed and considered candidates to stand for election and re-election as trustees and recommended the following nominees. Nominated for a 3-year term of 2023 to 2026 is Catherine Perez, Jessica Levy, and Rob Ising. And nominated for re-election for 3-year terms, which will expire in 2026, we have Rob Levinson, Jill McCammon, Diana Nero, and Min Salkowitz. The Friends of the Library election trustees would like to know if there are any other nominations for trustees present. Hearing no further nominations, may I have a motion to approve the slate as presented and elect such trustees? Thank you, George. And may I have a second? Thank you, Terry. All in favor? Excellent. The motion carries. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Maggie. I'm Kira Parrott, Director of Darien Library, and I will be your MC for the second part of tonight's meeting. So we are now at the most bittersweet portion of the evening when we offer our deepest thanks and our bid of farewell to our departing trustees. Tonight we have two trustees who have completed their terms of service on our board. First up is Jay Bennett. Jay began his first term of service on Darien Library's board in 2017, and I've had the pleasure of working with Jay for his last term, the last 3 years. Jay has served on many different committees, including most recently our Development Committee and our Investment Committee. Jay's sharp financial savvy and attention for detail have been incredibly helpful over the years and valuable. And if you know Jay, you know what an absolute library champion he is and such a great patron. Not that it's a competition, but I would wager that Jay comes to almost more programs than any other trustee. Whether it's author nights, business book group, musical performances, our very first open house, I think you were one of the first people there to see us, and everything in between. And the entire Bennett family are actually library champions. As many of you know, Mary Bennett served on our board of trustees previously. So we are so grateful for Jay and the entire Bennett family. And I just want to thank you, Jay, for your time, your dedication, and your service to Darien Library, and by extension, the entire Darien community. So thank you very much. And is Emily in the house? All right, we're still going to talk about Emily, though, and I will give her her gift later. Emily Kronlein is also ending her term of service on the board. She began, like Jay, in the class of 2017, and since then, Emily has served on a variety of roles, notably in the Executive Committee as our secretary, and most recently as our vice president. She's also chaired the Law and Policy Committee, served on the HR Committee, and nominating. Emily's wealth of knowledge, particularly her background and expertise in law and governance, has been absolutely critical to the library, to the board, and to me personally. So I would like to officially thank Emily for her many, many, many hours of service to Darien Library over the last 6 years, and when we see her, we will give her an expression of that thanks in a small token. Thank you, Emily. So we'd like to share just a few of the highlights from the past year, our fiscal year that just ended on June 30th, as well as give you a few sneak peeks into some of the programs and initiatives that we are planning for this year and beyond. So first, you may be aware that in 2021, when we were right in the thick of COVID, mask mandates, vaccines weren't quite here yet, all of the chaos that most of us would like to forget. In the middle of all that, we embarked on creating a new strategic plan. And that plan was intentionally narrow in scope. We didn't know what the next 6 months were going to look like, never mind 3 to 5 years in the future. So we wanted to sort of thrive and survive that time period. What we did know for certain is that the library was open and our community needed us. And our goal was to reach everyone in town, to make sure that they knew the library was here and they knew it was for them and their family. We also knew that a ton of new residents had come to Darien over the last couple years. We had this influx of new people in town. But did they get introduced to the library? Had they made coming to Darien Library a habit? So we need to do some real targeted outreach to them. We also needed to reintroduce ourselves to our core patrons, whether they were teens needing places to study after school or maybe senior citizens sort of re-entering public spaces after being away for a little while. Our strategic plan was centered on the phrase building back, and a keystone project of that was the Welcome Back campaign. Our amazing staff led this effort by organizing a ton of targeted outreach. We sent direct mailings to every single new household in town. We hosted the first annual fall open house. The second one was earlier today. And our staff beat the streets, literally knocking on doors, introducing themselves to every business and business owner in town, and letting them know the astonishing array of services at the library. Our librarians were at the farmers market. They were in the schools. They were up and down and around Post Road. They were at the parks. They were at the beaches, all in the service of spreading the good word of Darien Library. And I am pleased to report that all of those efforts paid off. Across almost every major metrics that we and all public libraries use to assess performance and impact, we are up. As Rob mentioned, the number of people coming to the library, attending programs, using our spaces, checking out materials, and getting help from our expert staff. As you can see, it was a banner year. And although we're not done, and we are still focused on bringing these numbers even higher, we can confidently say that Darien is one of the busiest, most well-used, and most beloved public libraries around. As we do every year, we sent out our annual patron survey where we ask, how are we doing? How could we be doing better? What could we be doing more of? And while we're not going to rest on our laurels, I'd like to rest for just a second on these laurels, just for a moment, because I think comments like this, which I could have probably 6 more slides of comments like this, do reflect and affirm that we are on the right course. So before we look ahead and I share with you a little bit about what we've been talking about for the next few years, I also wanted to give a shout out to our tech and UX team and the array of technology upgrades that have happened over the past year. So here is a lovely diagram that shows you some of the things that we've done on the first floor, including this very room. So that projector and this lovely screen here are new and much improved. You can also see that we've added a lot of updated technology to our second floor, including new computers, microfilm. Yes, people actually do still need microfilm. There are many periodicals and bits of information for research you cannot get otherwise, and more to come. We want to make sure that our patrons and our communities, be they students, people working, and everything in between, have the tools, the tech, the hardware, and the software they need to get the job done. So now, I wanted to give you a little sneak peek about an evolving plan that we're working on. So we've been talking for the last 6 months plus about what the next 5 years are going to look like. And that process has involved focus groups, surveys, and a lot of dialogue and conversation with our patrons, our staff members, our friends, and our board of trustees. And what we found is that there are certain common themes that keep coming out of those conversations. So first is who we are as a people, as a town, as a library. We are bookish. We are a community of voracious readers, of lifelong learners. And unlike some libraries, and I won't name names, who have actually decentered that in their identity and their branding, sort of pushed books kind of to the side or behind, we feel that books are our brand. We are book nerds, we love literature, we love learning, and we really want to lean into that in terms of our branding, our identity, the offerings for the community, and we believe the community wants and reflects that desire as well. So leaning into our bookishness. But of course, libraries aren't just about books. We're also about that lifelong learning piece. So we want to continue to be curious and inspire curiosity and spark discovery. And this includes the types of programs and series and workshops and classes, be it book groups or AI or ChatGPT and some of the emerging technology that we've been talking about, people remaining curious and informed. Darien Library is also the place where community comes together. Whether it's Monday night movie, cocktails in the courtyard, or toddler story time, we know definitively that feeling connected to your community, to your neighbors, maybe to your friendly local librarian, is increasingly important. If you've been following a lot of the recent health news, you know that there's been a lot of research on the epidemic of loneliness in our nation and in our world. And we know that they have some harrowing effects on our physical and our mental well-being. So Darien Library must continue to be a place where we combat that loneliness and that isolation because we bring people together at the library. And when we join together and come together as a community, we know we get things done. So not only do we equip our patrons with the knowledge and the tools that they need to have a meaningful impact on the world, but we also want to do so internally by empowering our staff as well. So making sure they continue to have the knowledge and the tools that they need to empower the members of our community. And finally, responsiveness, I think, is the key to future planning. Darien is a community that is very much in an evolution right now. We are growing, literally. We're going to see a big population change over the next couple years, right? So what does that mean for the library services as people move to town, as different populations grow? We're expected to see an increase in the youth population as well as in the aging population, and we have to remain responsive to the changing needs. One quick example of what we're talking about is the impact of the rise of Zoom and video conferencing as just a normal, regular part of working life. And that has had an immediate impact on things like our spaces here in the library and our meeting rooms and our capacity to meet the need of that evolving population, whether it's job seekers who have to look professional and have a stable place to have a job interview, or maybe a local PTO group meeting in a hybrid environment. And what does that mean for us, and how can we help them achieve their goals? I really look forward to sharing more of some of the plans that came out of these discussions. And if you're interested in hearing more and you'd like to share your thoughts, I would invite you to come to one of our focus groups this fall. The first one is going to be on Wednesday, November 1st. So if that date doesn't work for you, come see me later at the reception and I'll tell you more about ways that you can get involved. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Elizabeth Maricola, Deputy Director, who's going to talk about some of the fun programs we did this year.
All right. Hi, everyone. This year, Darien Library's programs and community outreach were back and bigger than ever. As you may have heard, seen on the slides, our Welcome Back campaign and our efforts to really bring people back into the library were more successful than we even could have imagined. There were more Darienites learning, growing, and enjoying themselves in the library, and what could be better than that? In a year of superlatives, it's hard to choose highlights, but here are just a few. Darien was proud to host an incredible array of hugely popular programs for adults in the last year, spearheaded by our Adult Programming Department, the Reader Services Department, and the Materials Management Department. The library offered sold-out author events with poet Kate Baer, nonfiction author David Gran, and best-selling author Lisa See., plus spirited discussions on books such as When Mackenzie Comes to Town, and of course, our annual sellout event, Book Buzz for Book Groups, which you may have heard sold out in 3 minutes this year. For teens, head of Tween and Teen Services Mia Orabona acted as the library's liaison to the hugely important DYCC, the Darien Youth Community Conversation. The Thriving Youth Task Force organized a gathering of local teens to talk honestly about what it's like to be a teen in Darien and think about ways adults can help support the youth in town. Various organizations, which included the library, the depot, DHS sports teams, churches, and more, each nominated a teen to represent their organization, and 30 students came to the library to participate in the conversation. Students left the original meeting feeling validated and respected and positive about the future. And there was a follow-up meeting held in this very room to a packed house of interested parents where 4 very, very eloquent teenagers spoke honestly to their parents and teachers about the pressures teens in Darien face today. To help alleviate some of that pressure, Darien brought back LNAP, or the Long Night Against Procrastination. This evening study event for teenagers saw over 100 teens come back to the library after it had closed on a Sunday night, studying, eating pizza, and relieving their stress with visits from a therapy dog. Polling done by Darien librarians showed the participants left the event more prepared for their midterms and less stressed than when they arrived at the library. The Children's Library resumed in-person school visits this year. Sorry, I just realized I forgot to advance this. So here are some beautiful adult programs. Here are some lovely teenagers, including our 4 teenagers who spoke at the Darien Youth Community Conversation. And here are our kids. So the Children's Library resumed in-person school library visits this year, with Darien librarians visiting every elementary and middle school student in town to let them know about our summer reading program and great new books that were out for them to read. This return to in-person school visits resulted in the most summer reading participants we've had since the COVID pandemic, with 679 children enjoying Midnight at the Museum, which was our summer reading theme. A whopping 45% of participants completed the challenge in its entirety, which is our highest percentage ever. Beyond programming, there was more excitement for the Darien Library community. Darien's incredibly popular tax aid program continues to draw in record numbers of participants. In 2023, processors based at the library filed over 1,300 free tax returns for patrons. And this year, Darien Library was incredibly proud to be the very first CT Lab hub in Fairfield County. I'm about to throw a lot of acronyms at you, so I apologize in advance. But CT Lab stands for Connecticut Library for Accessible Books. This is a state-run program and makes Darien Library a network library of the Library of Congress's National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. Okay. CT Lab lends books and magazines in audio and braille formats for free to any Connecticut resident who is unable to read regular print due to a visual, reading, or physical disability. Patrons can check out reading devices that are loaded with new books right here at Darien Library. They can bring them back from any library in the state right to us again, and we can get new books and new devices loaded for them whenever they ask. Our reference librarian, Mary Beth Mason, brought the project to Darien, and she will be presenting on her experiences launching this valuable community service at the National Public Library Association Conference in April of 2024. It has been a wonderful year, and we look forward to another wonderful year to come. And now, I would like to introduce Melissa Noonan, who is our development coordinator. Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. As she said, I'm Melissa Noonan, and I coordinate development here at the library. If I haven't met you, I'm eager to meet you. I'm glad to see everyone here tonight. From a fundraising standpoint, we had a fantastic year. And on behalf of the entire staff, I want to express my most sincere thanks to the Friends of Darien Library. Simply put, without you, none of this would be possible. To paraphrase what our board president, Hutch Pegler, has previously stated so eloquently and succinctly, there is something for everyone at Darien Library. Children begin their paths to lifelong literacy. Teens enjoy a safe and supportive place to study, and adults discover great reads, entertaining programs, and comfortable meeting spaces. You know which of these makes Darien Library so important to you and your family. But did you also know that private donations to the library's annual campaign are what make all of this possible? While tax dollars pay for staff and the basic operations of the building, it's gifts from friends like you that provide the only source of funding for literally everything else. All the books, audiobooks, ebooks, computers, research databases, financial resources such as the Bloomberg Terminal, and the library's impressive range of programs. All of these things are the direct result of your support. The slide in front of you highlights images from several vibrant and successful fundraising events over the past year. In October, we hosted our 7th annual Novelty Luncheon featuring wildly popular author Taylor Jenkins Reid. Reid has written many best-selling novels, including Daisy Jones and the Six, Malibu Rising, and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Daisy Jones and the Six was even adapted by Hello Sunshine into a limited series for Amazon, a huge hit over the past year. Reid's tremendous commercial appeal contributed to the Novelty Luncheon being a sold-out event for the very first time in its 7-year history. In February, we hosted our 8th annual library mini-golf event, in which players of all ages happily putted their way through the library on an 18-hole miniature golf course set up throughout the building. This year, we welcomed a record 1,450 golfers, which was an amazing 76% increase over the previous year. I think that's amazing. On May 24th, Darien Library celebrated 129 years of service to the community with our 5th annual Day of Giving, which we call 1894 Day. Each year on this special anniversary, we invite Darienites to show their library love by making a donation and joining us in the courtyard for festivities. This year, over 475 families contributed allowing the library not only to meet, but to exceed our goal of raising $129,000 in just 24 hours. As a result of these events, and coupled with our critical annual fund campaign, I am very proud to report some eye-catching statistics. Last year, we recorded 115 new annual fund donors. We welcomed nearly 300 first-time event attendees to the novelty and mini golf. Net revenue from these events was up an amazing 48% over last year, and we had 17 new corporate sponsors, which is such a strong indicator of local support for our mission and relevance to our community. We are particularly proud of these statistics in light of a national trend that has been documented in fundraising, showing that the number of U.S. households who give is actually shrinking. And as Kira touched on, she touched on the evolving population of Darien with its influx of newcomers. We're really proud to be tapping into this stream of newcomers coming here and showing them what the library has to offer. Kira and the Board of Trustees often say that great libraries build great communities. This phrase is wonderful as a reminder of our mission to serve as a place for lifelong learning and a destination where curious minds come together over shared interests and new ideas. But great libraries are only made possible and sustainable by a community that deeply values literacy and free access to information, high-quality resources, and a range of perspectives. Darien Library is so much more than just a place to check out books. It's a community resource center for both Darien residents and our friends in neighboring communities. You, the friends of Darien Library, make it all possible, enabling the library to continue to play its unique and critical role in our community, providing the superior resources and services that you and your neighbors deserve. Finally, I want to highlight a very special event. On a beautiful evening in May, Darien Library held the inaugural meeting of our brand new Heron Society. By definition, the Heron Society is a distinguished core of Friends of Darien Library comprised of past and current trustees, honorary trustees, key stakeholders, and visionaries. It's essentially a brain trust that represents the unsurpassed organization and generosity that enabled the opening of the new Darien Library in 2009, as well as the current leadership guiding the library forward into the future. Our inaugural meeting in May was extremely well attended and featured beloved former director Louise Parker Berry and honorary trustee George Wiper in conversation with Kira, reminiscing about the library's storied past and present. The library aims to bring this dynamic and dedicated group together at significant change junctures in the future in order to prepare for the next evolution of the most innovative and community-centered institution in Darien, the library. And now, looking ahead, I want to be sure to mention that we are actively planning for our 8th annual Novelty Luncheon, which will be held on October 18th, featuring Curtis Sittenfeld, another blockbuster author who has written bestsellers such as Eligible, Prep, and American Wife. Sittenfeld has a delightful new book out called Romantic Comedy, and we're all eager to hear her speak in this intimate luncheon setting. But I do have to note, act now. If you haven't already bought your ticket and you want to come, our ticket sales have been very brisk, and we're almost at capacity, so don't delay. Also, please mark your calendars for our next mini golf event, which will be held again on Super Bowl weekend, February 10th and 11th. And I'll conclude by saying, again, from all of us at Darien Library, thank you for your exceptional generosity and support. Together, we can ensure that Darien Library continues to flourish and set the standard for what a library can be. With that, I'll turn the mic back to Kira.
Thank you, Melissa. I love the plug for novelty. Act now, yeah. Before I release everyone to enjoy some wine and refreshments outside, I wanted to bring your attention to 2 very special events happening this year. The first one is our first ever President's Series. The brainchild of our President of the Board of Trustees, Hutch Pegler, in coordination with myself and our library adult programming team, has conceived this President's Series on intellectual freedom. This is going to be a special series of 4 events, one a month, happening October, November, December, and January, and each program in the series will explore issues around free expression, civil liberties, and the intersections of institutions and individuals. The first event is going to happen very soon, October 4th. It's going to be at 7 p.m. right here in this room, and we're going to have a speaker named Aaron Turr. Aaron is a lawyer, and he is the Director of Public Advocacy from an organization called FIRE, which is the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. This is a group that does a lot of grassroots, pro bono legal advocacy, everything from college campuses to libraries and school districts. And his talk, which is called From Cancel Culture to Book Banning, is Free Expression Under Attack, is guaranteed to be insightful and I bet spark a lot of dialogue. So please join us for that. Then on November 7th, we're going to be joined by Dr. Bo Breslin, who is a constitutional scholar, and he's going to talk to us about the First Amendment, what it is, what it isn't, and maybe where it's going. So another, I think, really insightful, thoughtful speaking event. You can find more information about the various events in this series on our website. You can also come talk to me later at the reception. I'd be happy to fill you in on more. I was also talking earlier with Terry and Sue about if we feel that this is a successful model, if people like this series on a really pressing issue of the moment, we might continue it. And some of the ideas for a next series, maybe in the spring, we'll see what we could pull off. Maybe we look at technology and sort of the very quick evolving technology that's on the horizon and what I call scary tech and some of these things that are so new and maybe so potentially disruptive that we really need a deep dive into some of these issues. So AI, things like that. So if that's of interest to you and you have thoughts and ideas, come and find me as well. And finally, I'm thrilled to announce another brand new to Darien Library event and program, Lit Tree Lane, a literary holiday celebration at Darien Library. We have invited 20 some odd groups, including nonprofit organizations, as well as local decorators and designers, to decorate a holiday tree in the theme of a book. So there's going to be like 25, 27 different trees. They're going to come and decorate the tree on Black Friday, so November 24th. And that evening, we're going to have a very lovely tree lighting ceremony and activities for different ages. And then the trees will be on view throughout the library, all over the building throughout the holiday season. And you will have an opportunity to vote for your favorite tree as well. It's bound to be an illuminating event. I want to thank you all for coming to the annual meeting. With the exception of our current Board of Trustees, who I'm going to ask to remain seated and stick around for a little board business, I invite the rest of you to please head over to Main Street, and if it's still nice out, the courtyard, to enjoy some wine and refreshments, and we'll be out shortly. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.